I consider my in-laws, my wife's mom and dad, to be Jehovah Witness social climbers of the worst kind, in my opinion. This particular phenomenon on the JW side, as far as social climbers, I don't really get to see that often because one day they're regular rank and file, the other day they're ministerial servants, and next thing you know they're elders. And I don't see their clawing and paying of dues to get to those particular positions, especially not in their personal lives or in the background of how to get to those coveted titles in their organization, the Watchtower organization. But I do see it from my in-laws side of the house, and how they are really sneaky, really ruthless about trying to get their name up there in the congregation as being, well respected maybe in the JW community and where we live at here right now. It seems like from experience of watching their behavior that they'll throw anybody under the bus to climb up that JW ladder. This particular story will roll into my wife's story of her possibly being marked from the congregation that she's in right now. And I think her parents is one of the major reasons why my wife is unofficially marked. I don't know if she is officially marked or not, but from people's reaction and behavior around my wife, it is at least self-imposed marking of my wife as being not spiritually strong enough, and to sort of, instead of bringing her up to JW standards, they just rather watch her wither on the vine and be shamed into doing more than what she's doing now. I don't know that for sure right now. It's all speculation on my part, but all the signs are there as to what's going on in her JW life. And I believe my in-laws is a big influence in that, or cause of her being somewhat quasi-shunned from the JW organization or the congregations here in our community here. So the in-laws, yeah, they are a piece of work. The father, he joined the JWs later in life in his 20s, early 20s, I believe. So he did do some military time and I think was brought up a Catholic. The mom, on the other hand, I don't think she was born into it, but at least as a toddler was a JW from way back in the early 50s, I would imagine. In my opinion, now this is my opinion of her, is very creepy about it. I mean, she's very zealot of her faith and everything. So the in-laws, they have 4 kids, 2 males and 2 daughters. One of the males is not in the JW organization at all, but he was raised up in it, but never got baptized. And it's a good thing for him because he would have been disfellowshipped years ago. Right now, he's really have some parent issues. And I remember this one time they were all gathered in our house here, and everybody was having drinks. One of the other siblings came over to where we live at to visit, so we all had a get-together. And the alcohol was flowing quite a bit liberally amongst everybody. I personally don't drink, so I'm pretty sober at the whole thing. He gets a little bit inebriated and starts to challenge the dad, and brought up a subject where at the age of 18, the parents pretty much gave the son an ultimatum whether either to go to meetings or you're on your own. And that was a really note of contention then between them. Family skeletons were starting to bubble up. And the parents couldn't really deal with that like they have in the past, where it was pretty much ruled by an iron fist and pretty much almost like a KGB style sort of running of the family where they pit siblings against each other. You had the other daughter, my wife's sister, who was pretty much the golden child of the family. She did everything right. Baptized at an early age, married a fine JW boy, and was leading into that life just fine with it. So she was the golden child of the family, which I do like quite a bit as far as a sister-in-law. She's in her heart a really good person. But currently, I think she is fading. As a matter of fact, she is faded out already. She's out of the religion. And she actually divorced from the JW husband. And they had problems since year number one. I'm surprised that it lasted as long as it did. But it was doomed for failure. But now she's on her own. She's not in the influence of her parents anymore, and just branched out and did her own thing. And talking to her current boyfriend, which is a nice guy, even though he annoys the hell out of me, he's telling me that she's been doing a lot of research on the web and everything about her faith, and that she really had some doubts even way back when. Now, this is the golden child, so that was a surprise to me. But her behavior and how she's acting now lead me to believe that, yes, she is faded, but didn't come out to proclaim that or anything like that. I think she knows that if she does say anything or anything like that, that she will get this fellowship, unbeknownst her knowing, but her family will turn against her. So she's pretty quiet about the whole thing. I don't bring it up whatsoever. I haven't talked to her about this particular thing at all, so, just to make her feel comfortable and everything. And if she wants to come out, she'll come out in her own time. I'm not going to ask her questions or anything or bring up bad, thoughts about the whole thing. She's going through her own personal Armageddon, and I'm not going to hasten that by sticking my nose in her business. But that's the other daughter. And the other son, he's been in and out of the religion, being this fellowship and getting back in and whatever. But I think he also has daddy issues as well, and was very rebellious. And knowing what I know now, the dad was psychologically abusive to all the kids, especially the mom. The mom was the main psychological abuser of all the kids, except maybe the other daughter, my sister-in-law. But it is certainly true to my wife, where, that underlying, hostility is still there. And my wife actually is going to go to therapy here soon to deal with her anxiety about her mother. So that's what's going on. And, it has been physically and especially emotionally abusive to the whole family, especially the mom. But that's what's going on behind the scenes, behind closed doors. Outside those doors, they are the epitome of JW façade that they portray to the rest of their congregation. They would bend backwards to help anybody in the congregation anywhere they can, but towards family, not so much. They are older now, and they are, around the congregation around here, they are considered like, very pious and all-knowing and respected in that sort of air. So the bottom line of this story is that they practically threw their family underneath the bus for personal JW religious gain. They want to be, the dad wants to be elder so bad that he totally threw his son underneath the bus quite a few times. And I know for sure that they're throwing my wife underneath the bus, even though it's not warranted. I could understand if well, no, I don't understand, but it could be that case when she was younger in her teens, you know, being rebellious and running in with the wrong crowds, which she hasn't really. She was basically trying to get away from her mother. And I can understand that, but 30-something years later, you know, my wife, she's in her 40s. They moved up here to be closer to their grandkids, my kids, and they're still playing the same games as they did when my wife was living in their household 30-something years ago, or 20-something years ago, I'm sorry. So they just picked up right where they left off with the slandering of my wife's character towards everybody, saying how much they're helping her and she's, you know, misled or just not very nice to them. Just also, I don't know that for sure, but I know that the posture of the congregation towards my wife has turned from accepting and, you know, sisterly, brotherly, and, you know, we were invited to picnics all the time and, you know, things like that, to where that basically has stopped completely within weeks after my in-laws had moved into our area. Instantly has stopped. So there's no coincidence to this, and in my next video I would explain my wife's perceived what do you call that, marking towards the rest of the congregation there where she attends. So there was an incident where the father-in-law was nominated or was made a ministerial servant, and my wife, she was really upset about that, because he pretty much knows the character of her father, that he really doesn't deserve that, and she is aware that they has thrown their kids underneath the bus to get to their goals as far as being, you know, the standings in their church. So she actually wrote a letter to the elder committee or whatever there locally, and I think a copy was sent up to Brooklyn, possibly. I'm not sure, because he's done some things in the past, which I won't get into. It's pretty petty and stupid, but enough to get him into trouble, really. So if you think of a JW person, along with another witness, so there's two JW baptized personnel claiming the same offense towards their morality, that will get him, the father, disfellowshipped. And she put it on paper, and she wrote down the contact of the other one, so their story would have collaborated. But that has died down, or it did die down. Nothing became of it. I don't think. I think he is a ministerial servant now. I'm not too sure, but he wasn't reproved from publicly or whatever, or disfellowship at all. You see, he's of an older, you know, generation. He's in his 60s now, and the top elders in this particular congregation, they're pretty close-knit. It's a boys' club. That's all it is. If you really compare it to anything else, it's a boys' club. The mom and dad, they're political animals. They know how to work the system. They know how to say things as to get their ways, and they know how to, you know, get out of situations and pretty much sell ice to the devil himself. They're that good, and I've seen them in action. But that particular incident, nothing became of it. I think it was swept underneath the rug, and business as usual continued. And there was another incident where, when I caught wind that my wife possibly is marked, or I thought she was marked, there was an incident where my wife's my kids, they don't really socialize with other JW kids, as they're supposedly have to do, not make worldly friends. Well, it seems that the parents of other kids their age are not having an association with my wife and being, you know, invited to parties and picnics and camping and stuff like that, they're missing out on that. And I confronted my in-laws about that, as far as why is it that every other place that we lived before, we had no problems making friends. But as soon as you guys came over here to the place where we actually are going to lay down roots, we have this problem here. And my kids are, suffering from it because they can't make any friends within their community or my wife's religious community. I'll save that story for my next video or later down the line, but all this sort of foul play and markings and everything, is really a silver lining for me, and having my wife kind of see what's going on. I don't think she sees what's going on yet, but she sees the treachery that her parents are doing, but hasn't put two and two together as far as bringing it all together. So yeah, all this was just a setup to my wife supposedly being ostracized from the congregation here as being possibly, not good enough for fellowship and association. And that's the sad truth of this religion.